Good morning, this is Erin Villanueva. Here today I'm showing you how to use Google Drive to work on our literature review, our assessment analysis, and our summer project. This will be spilling over throughout the year, so this could easily become a PLC project for the year. This is really geared for both elementary and secondary therapists. So as you can see, I'm going to show you how to do it from start to finish. Just go to google.com, and to open Google Drive, you're going to go ahead on this little grid up here. You're going to click on Google Drive, and I've created 3 folders, and I've shared them with Katie and with Kim. I can certainly share them with others. The articles for review, the articles that have been finished, and then the documents that we're creating. So I'm going to start with the documents because these are kind of our product. First, let's take a peek at our task list. What are we doing? Where are we going? I have 3 categories here. The actual tasks, this is the general completion date, and then the barriers to completion. The barriers to completion, if you did not get a task finished, just type Y. Ran out of time, not enough people, just so when we come back in the fall, I can quick pull this up and it doesn't take me talking to 3 different people as to why they didn't finish it when it's just right here. This is a very large project, so saving time and working as seamlessly as possible would be really appreciated. Okay, so Katie and I have done some tasks this summer. We developed a transition chart, which I'll show you in a few seconds. We've done some lit review grids. I need to change that. The date, we've actually completed, I think, 4 now. By next Wednesday, I think we should have 5 or 6 finished. Katie and I developed a transition Excel document, which I'll go over. And then Katie and I have gone through a number of assessments, but there need to be a few more done, and I'll show you how to find that information. I like the elementary therapists to really focus their time on doing a lit review or in these assessment tool areas. So if for whatever reason you're not able to complete 4 or 5, please be sure to put why you didn't complete them. And then we're getting some transition information from an OT who is now a transitions coordinator in Arizona, and she's developed some new materials. So we'll be reviewing that in October. And then I have a contact with AOTA that has asked us to do a draft position fact sheet and an FAQ sheet, which will be published on aota.org. So we're hoping to get that drafted beginning in October. And then we're going to review our project findings from the lit review, our transition grid, our position paper. We're hoping to get a lot of these things done before Thanksgiving. And then we're going to start to incorporate all this information, and then we're going to develop a PowerPoint for our district and hopefully disseminate the information. Okay, so this is the PLC project list again. Reference this regularly. If we need to push back dates, we certainly can. This is pretty ambitious, but we'll just work together on it. Okay, so that's that document. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. The next thing I'd like you guys to look at is the early school-based transitions. So this is really what this project is about, is looking at transitioning from early intervention into the school system, across the continuum of grades through TRACE, and then the point of transition year in our district, moving on to an adult agency. So I think a lot of this project is going to be focusing on moderate to severe students. So that's kind of how this chart is geared. So please review it. We try to include the type of assessment approach, whether it's a team approach, a transdisciplinary approach, a multidisciplinary approach. So you need to be familiar with these 3 terms because these are kind of common themes as we're going through and working on it. Okay, so I will be tweaking a few of these things. So as you see it now, by July 29th, it may look a little bit differently. Please familiarize yourself with this chart as it will help guide your thinking when you're working on your literature reviews or your assessment analysis. Okay, so if you've never done a critically appraised topic before, I'm going to show you this modified template. I think it's a little easier to think about one article at a time on a Word document. So a CAT, again, is called a critically appraised topic, and you pick one article and you fill it in. What is the bottom line and implications for practice? So you could type that, you could print this off and handwrite it. Either way, these are your notes that help you make sense and focus your attention in the article. And then looking at the key evidence, what type of design, what type of population did they target, the procedure for getting their information, the outcome measure and results. And then this is where you're appraising. What were the strengths of the study? Was there a large sample size? Did they use a rigorous assessment tool? Did they use great outcome findings? Limitations. Was it a small study? Was it a small demographic? Was it only in the Northeast? Those types of things. And then other comments, and then please put the citation. Again, this one is completely optional. This is really helpful if you have never done a critically appraised topic. It helps kind of guide your thought process. So again, completely optional, but I would recommend if you've never done it, try it. No matter which way you go about doing this, make sure your information gets into this Excel spreadsheet. So Katie and I have worked on a few things. I've gone ahead per article. I've put the author, the year, and then the title. I put the type of research, the population, blah, blah, blah. I've had to put a lot of information in this one because this is a meta-analysis. So that was a compilation of multiple research findings. So my information may be a little bit longer than if I was just looking at the effectiveness of type of intervention article. Don't feel as if you have to put a ton. I had to because it was like 9 different articles referenced in one article. So make sure you put all the information in that's relevant. Please highlight it so I can discriminate really quickly what's one article and what's the other. And then I'm going to draw your attention here to participant characteristics. These kiddos were school aged 14 to early adulthood. So I finished this article under grades 9 because most 9th graders are 14. And then I copied it to the 11th and 12th grade tab, the 18 to 21 tab, and the 22 to 25 tab. The reason I did that is I'm going to be going through each of these tabs, or we're going to be going through each of these tabs, and we're going to be looking at how many articles are looking at transition from early intervention to preschool. How many articles are looking at preschool to elementary or elementary to middle. And so to help lay the foundation for how much new evidence really exists in this area and what evidence needs to move forward. And there's a lot of contacts that I made at AOTA that are working on this. Okay, and then the last thing is the assessment analysis. So I'll go over this in a second, but we noticed that when we were going through the literature, a lot of the discussions were looking at the type of approach that the OTs were using in their evaluation process and the types of tools they were using. Some are rigorous, some are not. So I went ahead and flushed everything out by performance skills, and then I had to put one under theory and then one under an area of performance because they're kind of all over the map. So let's just take the DTVP3 for example. Katie and I reviewed that one. We put the age range, the type of assessment, the population that it was normed on, the year published, time to complete it, and then the connection to the educational environment. We're finding that very few assessments that we carry have any direct correlation to the curriculum or educational environment. There's a lot of information about performance skills, but again, we're finding that they're very limited that impact areas other than academics. So it's really important that the tools that we're using in transition connect to the end goal. So when you go through and do your assessment analysis, if you could pick the assessment that connects to, is it a visual skill, is it a visual motor skill, is it a gross motor, fine motor, etc. We've done a lot of these already. So we did the sensory profile, sensory processing measure, and then just an FYI, the sensory profile 2, that actually includes the school companion, the short profile. That whole thing is being redone, and just something that's interesting, special ed students were excluded from the norming sample on the sensory profile, and it also excluded students with serious mental illness, medical issues, and sensory motor impairments. It was only normed on individuals that were neurotypical. So again, more reason to look at what are we using, how are we thinking about transition in our assessment process, and how does that affect the services that we provide. So if you want to do the assessment piece, please select the assessment under the appropriate tab and get all the information in. If you've never used Google Drive, this is one thing I forgot to mention, it automatically saves each time you put something in. So there's no save button that you have to hit. Okay? So I think that's pretty much everything in the documents. So again, these are all the products that we're developing. At this current time, I will be adding as we get to the FAQ sheet and things like that, but we're not there yet. So I'm going to draw your attention here to the articles for review. So you're going to click on the article and you're going to click on this little subfolder here, and then you'll find that I've placed a number of PDFs. Some are age-out articles, some are educational articles, special education articles, transition journals, work journals. I really try to be comprehensive with all the information I learned at AOTA. So just take a click through, double click on it, and then kind of read through, your little background here and see if that's of interest to you. Once you select your article, you can either just do it, you can save it electronically, highlight it, mark it up, or you could print it, highlight it, get key information. You take this information from your article, and like I said, you're going to go into your lit review document, and then you're going to do the CAT template at a glance. And then depending on your article that you're reading, you're going to select, is this an elementary tab, a middle tab, whatever tab it is, and then you're going to just type your information into those relevant sections. Okay? All right, let's go back. So, oops, too far. Okay, so the last thing, you have a folder here that says SDUSD articles finished. So when you're finished reviewing articles from here, I'm going to go ahead and say I reviewed the AJOT role of school-based in a secondary transition planning team. Let's say I finished that article, I put it in my CAT analysis template, and I'm finished. So I want to put it in the finished article because when I come back in September, you don't want me reviewing the article you've already done, and I don't need to go back into the Excel spreadsheet and say, which articles did they get through, which ones didn't they get through. That would take me easily an hour to do, and we all are very short on time. So you take your article, you click it, you drag it over to My Drive, and then all of your folders will pop up. Please find the article that says SDUSD articles finished, and literally unclick and drop it. And then it'll say move it out of the shared folder. You're going to say OK. Okay. And then let's just double check to see if it's there under finished. And then it's right there, AJOT transition pilot findings. What if you click on the wrong one? You are going to grab your PDF. You're going to go back to My Drive. And then you're going to go to the articles for review. And then you're going to drop down to this SDUSD 2015-16 article. You're going to move it back there, and let's see if it actually worked. And again, it said AJOT pilot or something. Oops, wrong one. Okay, and there it is, AJOT pilot transition findings. So that's pretty much all you need to know. I hope that the screenshot and the recording of me speaking was helpful. Sorry for the 13-minute video. It's not normally that long. But this will be nice that you can reference it. You could share this with other therapists if they choose to come on your project. So when I'm off calendar, you still feel like you have some resources available to you when we're not. Great. All right. Thank you so much for being interested in transition and your time and effort and energy. It's completely valued and appreciated. And I really look forward to connecting with you guys when we come back in the fall. Bye-bye.